Welcome to Faith, Fiction, and Folklore. We're the Try-F podcast where we try not to F the podcast up. Today we are continuing our conversation about hell. Gary's going to solidify what his position is on it. Am I getting that right, Gary? How are you tonight?
Yeah, that's good. I'm fantastic, man. You?
Good. I'm doing well. Trevor, how are you?
Yes.
He's yes.
All right. Yeah, so last week there was this poor soul who had asked, why would God torture people in hell for eternity?
Yeah.
And he was basically kind of shot down by the majority of his panel, something to the effect of "Have faith, brah." And I didn't think that was fair. So I tried to answer the question. And I was kind of doing it off the fly because my emphasis was kind of being angry at those people for shooting him down like that. So I wanted to provide a little bit of scripture, and I also wanted to do kind of a back and forth because, Cody, I know you kind of had your own unique view about heaven and hell and all of that, and I guess compare and contrast views, as it were, and talk about that for about 30 minutes and call it a night. So,
Yeah.
Or night at a call.
all right, yeah.
Nope. We're not going to night at a call.
Okay.
All right, so let me see. Let me
you.
start off, if I can actually pull up the right. I have so many tabs open. Also, I'm sorry, Trevor, you had a video that you were wanting me to look at
No.
as well. It was
I have
like
a question.
a question,
It's a question.
and it was presented in this video.
No.
No? Well, you
This
gave me
video
the video to pull up.
The video explains my question deeper than I can explain my question.
Okay, all right. So, great. All right, well, how do you guys want to do this? You want me to address the video first, or do you want me to give my case first and then look at the video?
Let's start with your case, and then if my question pertains to anything you're talking about, then I'll ask it.
Okay, I need to just scroll this because I'm like popping tabs. I'm deleting tabs in front of people. I'm sure it's very confusing. Okay.
They like it.
Oh, all right then. Well, let's
Right,
see.
chat? I hope you like it.
Don't agree with this, man. Good night. Okay.
Speaking of chat, if you like it,
Subscribe!
Like it.
subscribe, hit the thumbs up.
Give us money.
No, don't give us any money.
Greedy shills.
I deleted my zero tab right as you said that. That sucks.
He's zeroing. Just right click and hit reopen, close tab.
I want that money. All right, hang on a minute. I will find this. Here we go. Oh, come on. Here. All right, so here's some verses about hell. They're kind of descriptors that kind of give us a little bit about what hell is in the Bible and how to understand it. So,
How do you understand it?
how do I understand it? Oh, I think these scriptures do a pretty good job. So you start out with Matthew 25:41. Then he will say to those on his left, "Depart from me, you cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels." That tells us that hell was originally prepared for the devil and his angels. And in 2 Peter, "For if God did not spare angels when they sinned, but cast them into hell and committed them to chains and gloomy darkness to be kept until the judgment," and of course it goes on, but the idea is that the angels are actually being kept, and that rebelled against God are being kept as prisoners there, and they're waiting the judgment day. So, and then Revelations, this is talking about the lake of fire, which is distinct. We may have to go to 20 because I don't know if it has all of it here. So, Revelation 20:10, "And the devil who had deceived them was thrown into the lake of fire and sulfur where the beast and the false prophet were, and they will be tormented day and night forever." And if we go to Revelation 20, we get a better picture of this. "And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. And cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that he must be loosened a little season. And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus and for the word of God, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Christ for 1,000 years. So this would be like the kingdom that we've talked about before. But the rest of the dead lived not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection. Blessed and holy is he that hath part of the first resurrection. On such the second death hath no power. But they shall be priests of God and of Christ, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. And when the 1,000 years were expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. And they went upon the breadth of the earth to compass the camp of the saints about, and the beloved city, and fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. So after that 1,000 years, the devil is cast into the lake of fire, where the beast and the false prophet were cast. So, and I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life, and the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books, according to their works. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them, and they were judged every man according to their works. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life, whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. So, I wanted to emphasize this because death and hell are shown as distinct from the lake of fire. This means hell is actually, it's not the final place of judgment. It's like a place in the afterlife. It's distinct from the lake of fire. So that was what I was getting at with all that. I didn't know exactly where it was, so I wound up having to read the whole chapter. Anyway, So Matthew 25:46, there's eternal punishment. So, hell is a place of eternal punishment, and these will go.
But at some point, it says after the judgment that hell is thrown into the lake of fire, which
So I guess this would be
makes it not exist anymore.
Yeah, so I guess the eternal judgment or eternal punishment would be the lake of fire then in Matthew 25:46. That's what I'm saying. Hell is hell is a distinct, like, temporary realm, like a holding cell.
Right.
Like Mike Winger had a good analogy. He said there's jail and then there's prison. Hell is like jail, and then the lake of fire is like prison. So they're like...
No, because the lake of fire destroys it. There's no punishment. There's no suffering.
That's
within the lake of fire.
That was what that guy in the video last week was arguing. Does God torment those souls for eternity, or does the lake of fire mean annihilation?
Because the lake of fire only exists for after the judgment, and then it goes away too.
No, the lake of fire is after the judgment. Like it's eternal.
Right, but it goes away.
No, hell goes away, but not the lake of fire. They're different. Okay. That's what I'm saying. That's what
the lake of fire always exists?
I don't know if it always exists, but I mean, it's made to destroy hell, death, and the souls that, rebelled of Satan. It's like, you could say...
I think it's allegorical, personally, but, I mean, like, I'm just saying, like, it has to go away.
My only point is that hell and the lake and fire are distinct. I tend to think that it is eternal punishment, meaning that they're not going to be destroyed because of the phrase eternal punishment. I don't think it's annihilationism, but some people would make the argument that it is. I'm not really trying to argue for or against annihilation right now. I'm just trying to describe I'm trying to simply point out that there is a difference between hell and the lake of fire. They're two different realms.
Yeah,
that's
I agree with you.
So, yeah, I personally believe it is eternal punishment and not annihilationism. But I'm not. We can debate that if you want, but that wasn't.
We'll read that Revelation verse again. It says it in there, doesn't it? That the lake of fire is.
Let's see. This is Revelation 20.
It destroys. Doesn't it destroy? I mean.
Let's see.
There's only one definition for the word destroy, right?
Well, fire is emblematic of destruction, so I mean, I think it could be read that way. I don't think it's complete. Like, I wouldn't go as far as calling it a heresy like some people do. So I mean, I think
Heresy.
I think it's a plausible reading. I just don't think it's right, but we'll see. Let's read it again. Starting with Revelation 20:10, and the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are. So I guess you could argue that since the beast and the false prophet are already there, when the devil is cast into the lake of fire, they weren't destroyed. So I think that would suggest that it is eternal punishment based on that. But that would also suggest that the lake of fire like exists simultaneously with hell in some capacity as well. So, do you have another way to read it? Because I'm improving it the
I'm just
same way
looking at
you
it.
are. I'm just looking at it and giving
death
my
and
impression.
hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. Huh. The second death. I don't know. I'm gonna have to think on it.
Yeah, this is one of the more tough issues that people debate about all the time. So
The second death.
now I've always understood the second. The reason it's called the second death. This is just my understanding of it. Is that again? I haven't checked this part, but from what I understand, in that culture at that time, death did not mean a cessation of like organs, like a cessation of body functions. Death didn't mean your heart stopped beating, your brain stopped working. It meant to be cut off from the source of life, right? So flower plucked from the ground, tree plucked, or leaf plucked from a tree. So in life, we die the first time, the moment we sin, because we're cut off from God and like physical life. And then the second death is when we are cut off from God for the final time spiritually. So like the lake of fire, which I should be getting into at this list of verses I pulled up. The lake of fire is a realm where the glory of God doesn't exist. So yeah, God's glory isn't there. So you're cut off from the source of life for the final time. That's the way I understand it. So don't know if that's right. Don't know if there's a scholar who could disagree with me or not, but that's the way I understand the verse.
Yeah.
So, do you want me to go on, or do you want to finish reading through this again?
Go on.
Okay. So, all right. So we've got 46. Jude 1:6, and the angels who did not stay within their own position of authority, but left their proper dwelling, he has kept in eternal chains under gloomy darkness until the judgment of the great day. So that's kind of affirming what Peter was saying. 2 Thessalonians 1:9. They will. So it's important to note here that what Peter and Jude are talking about, they are talking about hell, where the devil and their angels and his angels are. And then 2 Thessalonians 1:9, because you've got a future tense, is saying where they will go. So they will suffer the punishment of eternal destruction, or at least where maybe this is talking about the believer? I need to look at that. Anyway, so I guess, no, if this is punishment, eternal destruction, then it would have to be like a fire. Okay, they will suffer the punishment of eternal destruction away from the presence of the Lord and from the glory of his might. So that's what I'm talking about. Like you're cut off from his glory. So God isn't there, basically. Okay. And then this is a descriptor.
I mean, I guess it would make sense. Is it Mark where he's talking about where Jesus is talking to the two people that are possessed by demons, and they why would the demons be scared of Jesus if not? You said it's not our time, right? Like, why would they be scared that it was their time unless there was suffering involved?
Yeah,
I guess
I would take that to mean like they were scared he was going to cast them into hell.
Sure.
In that prison, which is different from the lake of fire, but that's where the demons would be going.
In my interpretation, they would already be in hell. Like, they're demons. They operate within the realm of hell.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I can't explain how that works from
the
your
realm
model.
of sin. So their next step would be the lake of fire.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess you could say that. Like, they're already in hell, so they're afraid Christ is going to cast them into the lake of fire as opposed to hell, by your view.
Which destroys them. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Then we've got, and do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather fear him who can destroy both body and soul in hell. This is what I was talking about, especially if like there is eternal punishment. How can a soul, and there isn't annihilation, how can a soul be destroyed? You know what I mean? This is what I was talking about last week. I kind of touched on it briefly. If a soul is some kind of identity, I would assume that you would lose. And since you're cut off from God, who is like your source of your understanding of good, your understanding of judgment, your understanding of beauty, you know, all that stuff. Like, if that inherent understanding of things is removed and you're only left with your own memory of such things, and God is not present in the lake of fire, and what would happen to that soul? Like, would that soul cease to be that person in some kind of
I think
way since they're cut off from good?
I kind of think you're overcomplicating it.
I'm just asking the question. I don't really know. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I would think the soul would warp and cease to be who they are.
The
Who that
soul
person
is
was
like this,
originally. Like, they'd like, and maybe in a way of thinking it would be like they'd become like demons themselves.
the soul is your spiritual side. So like, fear not the guy that can destroy your body, but fear the guy who can destroy your spirit and your body, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
can it?
It says in hell, though.
Yeah.
Destroy body
but
and soul in hell. So it can't
if-
be
if
talking
your
about
soul-
annihilation there, because we're
if your
referring to
soul
hell,
is
not the lake of
being-
fire.
If your soul is being destroyed, it's in hell because you're sinning. Like it's all about consent. Like you have to destroy your own soul. So like if a con man is more dangerous,
wouldn't-
a con man that can destroy you spiritually is more dangerous than somebody who can just stab you and run away.
Yes, but what I'm asking is, what does the destruction of a soul look like?
Letting your vices or pleasures take control of you.
Okay, and I think you're probably right, but I think that would be taken to the extreme in hell. I think that would warp, like who you are, basically. Like what you like, what you value, whether you identify as a good person or a bad person, perhaps. Like the things that make you would stop existing on some capacity, and you would, for all intent and purposes, become a completely different kind of being.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, like, without getting too much into the weeds here, because I don't want it to be like spook hour right now. But whenever we were having our supernatural weird stuff, one of the things that always struck me as odd about those things was they did seem to have an intellect, but it was foreign. Like it was particularly malicious and almost kind of primitive in a way. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know what I'm talking about or not, like when you encountered that stuff, but I felt like those entities were purely reactive, if that makes sense. Like they were smart, but they were like smart in one direction.
Yes.
And very, like they had the intellect of a human, but they were almost like an animal in the way that they were reactive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like animals feeding off your energy. It's like,
yeah.
If you're scared of a dog, he's going to be more reactive when you come up to him. Like if your heartbeat's elevated and all that, the dog's going to be spookier. Just so like a demon is the same thing. The more energy that you're putting off, the more it can take control of that energy.
Yeah. Well, for example, like when we were doing a blessing on the house, like the place at Claremore, for example, if it had been like a regular human entity, let's say, you would think that once the person you're tormenting, as it were, you would think that thing would just leave because the jig is up. I mean, once you pray and you read the Bible, I mean, it's got to go. It's not like it can beat you in some kind of contest because you're not the one fighting it. You're asking God to fight it for you. It's not going to win that contest. So you'd think it would leave, but it didn't. It kind of stood its ground like a dog. Like, it was futile, but it stood its ground anyway. And so I just kind of find that odd, that they would, I don't want to get too deep into it because I don't want to turn this into like, coast to coast or something, but but my point is I just feel like those things kind of have a lower intellect. And so I wonder if something like that happens to a soul in hell, like they become like a lower kind of intellect because they're cut off from God.
Like the Little Mermaid idea where Ursula turns her little people into those hands. They're like
little seaweed things. I mean, you could think about it like that. I mean, perhaps. I don't. That's a weird way to look at it. But yeah, I mean, that might be what I'm talking about. I'm not sure what I'm talking about. I've just been trying to play the idea out in my head and try to figure out a way to understand it. Because it does seem like they are on some level more primitive. And so I wonder if... And that gets into the question of suffering too, because
it's the same idea with AI. It's like they're feeding off what you're putting out. Like that's it.
I think I know what you're saying, yeah. But it's a lot. The reason I wonder about it is because the guy's question specifically was about torture. Would God torture a human in hell or passively torture that person, let's say, because he knew about it? And one of the first things you learn when you grow up on a farm and and I think you have to actually interact with animals. Like, you can't just watch them, because if you just like Jane Goodall sitting there and watching gorillas or whatever, it's like you can't really do that because people like superimpose their own ideas about what things are onto the animal, but that's not what's actually going on. When you start to interact with the animal and work with it, you realize that their brains do kind of work like an algorithm. Like, it is kind of computer based. It's, for example, with cows, like they'll if you take their calf, they'll bawl and throw a fit only as long as the scent is on the calf. Once the scent is gone, that maternal instinct, quote unquote, shuts off like a switch. Yeah. And they don't even recognize it. That's not motherhood the way we experience motherhood. It's not. Yeah. It's a triggering mechanism.
They're kind of robotic.
Yeah.
Dude, I was listening to this stream the other day. This dude was like, our chickens, they have a sentience. They have personalities. I was like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, chickens are retarded. Dude, this guy is crazy. Your chickens do not have feelings, people.
Well, they're computers. Like, people don't realize that, but they really are computers. It's quite crazy. Like, was it Joe Salatin, I think's the guy's name. It's a farmer who does like the kind of more organic type farming, let's say. And he talks about in one of his books how those chickens, when they're grazing, like the reason, because you can leave those things out in your yard and they won't wander off and get lost. They'll always come back. And it's kind of crazy. And he's like, the reason they're like that is because they actually have like a radius around the coop. And so they migrate around the coop throughout the day. But if you move that coop like 8 inches, according to him, they can't even find it. Or like move it like 8 feet. Like it screws up their computer stuff or whatever up there. So,
Jess said, tell them about putting the skin of a dead calf on an orphan cow.
Oh, right. Jess's dad did this. And
oh, no.
Basically, he had a mama die, and so he had an orphaned calf. And then he had a calf who lost the mom. And so what he did was he took the dead calves. No, I said that wrong. Basically, a mom lost a calf and a calf lost a mom. And so, and according to Jess, he did this several times. So whenever this would happen is he would take the skin of the dead calf, put it on the living calf, and then give that living calf to the mom, and the mom would nurse it because it recognized the scent from the pelt. So the cow literally thought that orphaned calf was its own.
Yeah, that's a dumbass animal right there.
Yeah, well, it's a computer. It's signaling. Yeah. It's not actually motherhood in the abstract sense that we recognize.
Yeah.
And so I've wondered, like, does something happen like that with the souls in hell? Because, like, what if you lose that sense of identity? Because when it comes to suffering, like, an animal will suffer, but it's not the same way you and I suffer. There's no, like, I am in pain in the mind of an animal. There's no I. Like
Right.
there's no sense of self in the animal.
Which is what we should strive to be, right?
No. No. Not at all. Like that sense of self, that understanding of abstract concepts comes from God. And that might be, in my opinion, how we are made in his image. That ability to comprehend love, that ability to comprehend beauty, that ability to comprehend justice. Like the fact that we can understand the ways of God and even be able to like pick up on them. Like the fact that, as goofy as it sounds, Jane Goodall or whoever might look at this behavior and go, that's motherhood. Well, she's taking something that she's sensing in the abstract and the spiritual that's just as real, and she's superimposing it onto the like physical, into what she's seeing. She's attributing meaning to something that's amoral, essentially, but she's still detecting the meaning, and that ability to understand right and wrong, to understand the nature of God, is like how we are still in some way connected to God. And if that gets removed, what's left of the soul? It might be an animal.
I have no idea.
It might just be the flesh.
Yeah, I think that's. Yeah.
And so by your ideology, by your ideology, being an animal would be hell, because there's no way to understand right and wrong in the first place. There's no good or evil.
That's what I keep trying to say.
It's just pain, and you don't know why. And you couldn't even ask the question why, because you don't know what why is, because that's an abstract concept.
Right.
You just exist in a state of being that's like torment.
Flow state.
No, like...
This is the principle I've been trying to teach you.
It's a dumb principle, dude. You shouldn't be in a flow state. You should be able to respect and comprehend right and wrong. That doesn't mean you're going to know it perfectly or anything like that. But the fact that you
don't know what right and wrong is, though.
You know it in part. In part. The Bible says we know in part, then we shall know in full. Anyway. So, the fact that we can detect those things might be our connection to God. The fact that we can understand the concept of the word should, something should or shouldn't be, might be our connection to God. Now, what if that gets removed? What if there is no should, because there is no God, there is no source of right and wrong? Like C.S. Lewis had this really interesting point, like an analogy for how, like, one of the ways we can know that God is real and that there is a right and wrong is he's like, the fact that people argue and make pleas and even complain about evil in the universe really doesn't make any sense, because it's like two notes. The way he put it was, it's like two notes on a sheet of music arguing over whether or not the song is bad. It doesn't make sense. What he was getting at was, it doesn't make sense for something within a work to critique the work. The fact that something is within a work and still critiques it means that, like, say, the notes on a sheet of music are aware of another song, as it were. Like, the fact that we look at predation and call it evil means that we are aware of a universe where predation doesn't exist. We have the ability to articulate things that are outside of the way things are. Like, Jess just added a comment. I think this is very helpful. She says, it's our knowledge of ought. We understand that there is a way things ought to be, and our understanding of that fact, that there is a way things should be versus shouldn't, tells us that there is a right order to the universe, that there is a right and wrong. And that means that there's something that exists outside of the universe. Otherwise, we would have no reason to think that predation is evil. We would just see it and go, But
what is? I don't even know what that is. What's predation?
Like lion eating the gazelle. Predation, predator.
Huh.
Yeah, like the fact that we look at stuff and call it repugnant and evil, like really we shouldn't be able to do that. And the fact that we can, and the fact that we can tells us that we are connected to something outside of the universe.
But we can't.
We know.
We must be as children to enter the kingdom of heaven. This is the whole thing.
Yeah, man. And who's the most who is the most disgusted by predation? Children. People who see it for the first time. The young, when they see the lion eat the gazelle, cry. You and I might go, ha, stupid gazelle, didn't run fast enough. But the kid cries because the kid is the most connected to God. Or the kid is more closely connected to God than you.
I mean, some
It's
kids
closer
would
to
cry.
innocence.
My kids didn't care at all when I slaughtered a chicken in front of them. I just
Well,
had to
I
explain
cried.
to
I
them.
hated growing up on a chicken farm. I was
Just
horribly
had to
upset by
explain
it.
it to them.
Well, I guess maybe I felt better after it was explained to me, but I was horrified by it. The point is, though, there are things that offend you. There are certain evil deeds that offend you, and really they shouldn't, unless there is an objective source of ought and objective morality outside of the universe telling you that the thing you're seeing is wrong.
Jess said individuals who grow up in abusive environments know deep down things are not as they ought to be.
That's true. That's true. When I was taking psychology classes, one of the stories the professor talked about was there was a kid who grew up with shoplifters. And when the psychologist was talking to this person, they were like, even when I was a youngster, I knew that shoplifting was wrong. I knew they were doing wrong, even though it was all I'd seen my whole life. So there is a sense of ought that tells us that the universe we're in isn't the only possible universe, which means that we have to be somehow connected to something outside of the universe.
We have a new chatter.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Hello, Sin Hicks. He said, what in the actual mushroomed forest is this?
Well, you came right down in the middle of the conversation, man. I don't know what to tell you. It does seem like we're on shrooms, I'm sure. We are talking about the nature, what happens to a soul if it goes to hell and is cut off from God. We're just spitballing a hypothetical.
Yep.
So there you go. And that led
You
to
got a
that
better
led
idea.
yeah, if you have
can
a better
come
idea,
on and
tell us. Yeah. But we're also talking, I guess that led to a conversation about the existence of objective morality.
Yep.
He next asks, are you the brains of this project? Please tell. Please tell me no.
Which one of us? There's been multiple people talking. Is it you call me the pretentious guy with the 70s collar or the other guy with the mustache or something. I don't know. You have to tell us who you're referring to. I'm Gary. The guy with the mustache is Cody, and the dude with the awesome beard is Trevor.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So you have to identify which one of us you're referring to. I don't think there is a brains to this project actually though. I think this is all just a
terrible.
wonderful accident. So
We're all just the bronze.
yeah. Anyway, so
I don't know what we're doing.
all right, so we talked about that question about the souls. What happens to the soul once it's in hell? That was just a question I presented last week. We didn't really explore it super deep, which I guess is what we just did. So, does anybody have any final thoughts on that topic before we go on?
I don't think so.
Okay. Let's see if there's any other scriptures I wanted to use to describe what I thought hell was. Let's see here.
Sin Hicks said I was catching up. Sorry.
Oh, you're good, man. You're good. So, let's see. I think we got up to Jude 1:6. It was Thessalonians, and then there was where the worm does not die and the fire does not is not quenched. Both of those.
See, man, that doesn't make sense to me. How do you explain that?
Well,
Worms don't live in fire.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was about to get at, dude. There's a chance. Now, I'm not making a definitive doctrinal claim here, but there is a chance that both are allegories for like destruction. You know what I'm saying? Like pain, suffering, destruction. But there may be physical worms in hell. I don't know. It could be. You know.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying it.
You're the one that says worms are like parasites are demons anyway. So.
It lines up with my idea pretty good. Like if you have parasites, it's because you're feeding a vice, right? If you're addicted to ice cream, you're gonna have parasites that eat ice cream, and that like you're gonna get fat and you're living in hell. because you're chasing a vice all the time, and those worms are existing simpatico with that process,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I
So
mean,
it just checks out with like living in hell with the worms and
yeah.
everything.
Jessica says worm is also an old school name for dragon. So the worm could also be a demon in that case. So the dragon lives in fire and breathes fire. Jessica added that, yeah. Dragon lives in fire and breathes fire. So could also be a descriptor
So,
for a demon.
so do worms live in fire?
No, they die immediately.
I would
Oh.
I would imagine it's an allegory of some kind, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the literal. It could be literal.
Fire
I
is
am
literally
not
a
sure.
representation of purification. I mean,
Well, I think it is. I think it's Christ explaining spiritual concepts to physical people. You know what I mean? And that's kind of hard to do. You know, because we're talking about how do things work without a physical body. You know, and I think these are basically symbolic terms. Like, could it be that there's actual fire? Maybe. I don't think there necessarily has to be. I don't think you have to dig in your heels doctrinally to say that. It could be just a symbol. And same thing with worms. It could be that both of these are just describing destruction. You know, the same way that I kind of feel like the streets of gold thing is basically saying that the stuff that you value the most in heaven isn't going to be worth anything. The things that
like
you
that.
value the most on earth isn't going to be worth anything in heaven. That merit-based
like that.
system we have doesn't work. Now, could both be true? That, you know, that merit system that we value here isn't worth anything up there, and the streets are paved with gold? Yes, but I think the point of mentioning the gold is that, yeah, the value systems are different. And so it could be something similar here. Like, is there actually worms and fire in hell? Maybe, but the point of bringing them up is that they're talking about destruction. In this case, the destruction of the soul. So.
Cynic said the fire is the downgrade of material.
That could be too. I don't know. Let's see. Let's see. No, actual worms don't. Dragons do. The fire is a downgrade of material. Jessica says worm, aka or WYRM, aka worm, is an old term for serpent or dragon. So there you go.
All right.
Or Cody could be right. Let's talk about those parasites in your gut on the control panel. Going, eat the cake, eat the cake. So.
You're good, Sin Hicks. We're not gonna ignore you though.
You're good, man. So
we like good comments like that.
yeah. So, all right. I think that's everything I wanted to cover here. Was there something else? Oh, yes. I wanted to justify my case that the devil was an accuser and that basically the devil is LARPing in hell. Like, basically, if there is literal fire in hell, the demons lit it. It's not that God is punishing people for being bad, as it were. It's that, you know, there's really only two realms. There's the realm with God, the realm without God, and the devil exists in the realm without God. And since he's the biggest dog in town, he's going to do what he wants. And, you know, in Isaiah, he says, I will be like the Most High, right? I should probably pull that up as well here. I'll do that here in just a sec. Actually, let me just go ahead and do it because I wanted to present the question: in what way could the devil think he's like the Most High, or think he could be like the Most High?
Just because he wants to.
Most High. Yeah, let's see. This is Isaiah 14:14. Let's see if we can just get the whole verse here. Oh, thank you for giving me the actual King James Version instead of feeding me the NIV by default. I appreciate it. Okay. So, let me start where this passage actually... Because this is talking about a king at first, and then it transitions into a commentary about Satan. So, let's see.
Satan is the adversary.
Yes. Excuse me here. I'm trying to find it because it's a very famous passage. So I'm trying to find. Okay, here we go. Starting at verse 12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the cloud. I will be like the Most High. And yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. So yeah, hell's also kind of tied with the pit as well, which we've seen in a couple other passages. But yeah, I repeat.
Whoa. Hey, 16 says, They that see shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms?
Mm-hmm.
So Satan makes earthquakes. That's
It's
cool, huh?
well, it's an analogy, basically saying this is the man that brought the. Yeah, it's hyperbole. They're gonna go, is this the man? Like in the day of judgment, they're gonna see how unimpressive the devil is because the devil's a cockroach.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I wanted to pose that question: in what way could the devil think he's like the Most High? And I would propose the idea that it couldn't be because he thinks he's as powerful as God. He's clearly not.
Because he's riding around on the Dark Knight satellite.
Dark Knight.
That's why.
It's like
He's not Batman.
Thanos.
What? No. Remember the Black Knight satellite?
Yeah,
Is
we
that
still
right?
have to do an episode on that. You're right.
Yeah.
Where's Jen when you need her?
Right. All right.
I still have that video.
He's up there on his. What was the school called? Sky High. He's up there on his Sky High school, floating around.
That is an old movie.
Ladies and
I like that
gentlemen.
movie.
All right. Gosh, I have so many tabs. This is ridiculous. Okay.
Ridiculous.
Okay.
Just
yeah.
said, imitation. Satan tried to be like God. He set up a kingdom like God based in love.
Yeah. Yeah, he's going to imitate God, do these poor imitations of it, distortions.
Love is evil. Spell it backwards. I'll show you.
But I wanted to read this thing about the devil to kind of explain how basically he's the accuser. Not based in love. Yeah, I was.
There you go.
where
I
were
was
going with
confused.
that.
I was like,
I
what?
wasn't going to say anything, but yeah, I was wondering where you're going with that. So, okay. Come on. All right, so Revelations 12:10. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. So the devil's up, making accusations before God all the time. And that, understanding that, we go to Job. So there was a man in the land of Uz, I probably mispronounced that, whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and eschewed evil. And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. His substance was also 7,000 sheep, and 3,000 camels, and 500 yoke of oxen, and fire, and 500 she-asses, and the very great household. So that this man was the greatest of all the men of the east. And his son went and feasted in their houses, every one his day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. And so it was, when the days of their feasting were gone, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning, and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, it may be that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. Thus did Job continually. Now, there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. And the Lord said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, Doth Job fear God for naught? Hast not thou made a hedge about him, and about his house, and about all that he hath on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. But put forth thine hand now and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. So, point being, devil makes accusations. And you can see that in this first chapter. Jessica says, Job is tough for me. Yeah, me too. It's a hard read, man. It's a hard read. So, since the devil is the accuser, I kind of feel like he is probably in hell punishing people based on his own distorted version of a moral code. I don't think God is actually the one doing the punishing. So, that's the short answer.
I agree.
And so, have I defended all my statements using scripture? Is there anything else that I need to cover?
I think so. I mean, everything you've said sounded pretty based.
Okay, that's good. Trevor?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
if I've said anything stupid, you can correct me in the chat, in the comments, and I'll try to address it. Do my best. So, all right. Now, Trevor, you wanted me to answer this question, right?
I have a question.
Okay, and so we're going to watch this video because it articulates your question. Okay.
This question is Earth hell?
Okay.
Are they the same place?
Okay.
Because you hear all the time people talking about, hell on earth. I'm going through hell.
Yeah.
Statements like that. So, are we already there?
Okay.
And we're constantly trying to find our way back to God.
Yeah. Do you
So
want to
basically-
watch the video, or are you just wanting me to answer the question?
That's
Okay.
my simple question.
All right.
This video just goes into it.
Okay, well, if anybody wants
It's
to
the same
watch it,
question.
it's called Bible Story. The YouTube channel is called Bible Story. The video is Earth is Hell. The real hell is not what you think. So you can watch
It's an AI video, so
Oh, well, of course it is. The robots are telling you you're in hell and you should just off yourself so the robots can rule the world. It's all part of the conspiracy. Anyway, so...
but it talks about it in the first few minutes
Gotcha.
about my question, and then it goes off on random tangent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would say...
I would. Yeah.
Go
Go
for
ahead.
it, Cody.
No, you go.
I would say the answer is no. I mean...
Why not?
Why not? Because, first of all, you have a bunch of distinctions about hell. Actually, let me go to my Word document. Like, if you, for example, look at Luke 16:19, you can see, like, phrases like Abraham's bosom. You can see hell. Like, basically, there's a lot of different terminology explaining, like, the different components. You have the pit. You have Sheol. You have Hades. You have Abraham's bosom. You have paradise. You have the kingdom of heaven. You have heaven. There's all these different components that suggest a actual system, And so to sit there and say that earth is hell is to kind of ignore literally all the descriptors about hell. Like, if earth is hell, then what is outer darkness? Like, if earth is hell, then what is the distinction between the lake of fire and hell, or the distinction between Hades and, like, heaven or paradise? Like, how do you make distinctions under that idea?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, it's not. I mean, it sucks, but it's not hell. So, yeah, plus if you look at the Bible, there's all these, analogies for fire and worms, and, like, these are allegories of destruction. Now, regardless of what happens to the soul, or not, I mean, the point is, though, you are being destroyed in hell in some measure. So we're not being destroyed here.
What
Oh,
would
we're
you
not.
say? What
Oh,
would
we're
you say
not?
to? Yeah.
Okay, one at a time. Cody, what'd
We
you
are
ask?
being destroyed, though.
No, we're not.
Entropy.
Yeah, we're dying, but that doesn't mean your soul is dying.
So what would you say to someone who is not biblical, not Christian, not religious, not anything, but they are suffering mentally, emotionally, they're going through so much stuff, and they ask you that same question?
Well, I would say, first of all, that the distinction between here and hell is that things are a season. Like, you might be suffering now. That doesn't mean you're going to be suffering for forever. And one of the points about suffering on earth is that it points you closer to God. It teaches you about yourself. You build character through suffering and pain. You can't do that in hell because you're not building towards anything. What's the point of learning to be patient in hell?
That's a good point.
Nothing, yeah. But you can, patience is obviously valuable in this life.
I could just imagine Satan attacking you in hell. I have patience. You can't hurt me anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Sin Hicks says, Job Rephe, hell is a place without God. Earth has God, even if he is not present. That was Jessica. Yeah. So,
That's
yeah.
true.
So,
That's a good point.
does that answer your question, Trevor, or do I need to go further?
No, you answered it pretty good.
Okay. Are you sure? Because I can go on. I can ramble.
I
for
am
forever.
never sure.
Like, I can just
Never
keep
sure.
babbling.
It's good.
All right. Sweet.
That's good.
Okay. Not as present. Not as present. Gotcha, Jess. Gotcha. Okay. Well, if we've covered, is that everything? I think we've covered everything.
I think so.
Sweet. Oh, I promised an hour and a half, and it's been almost 3 hours. I suck at keeping time. So,
You did good.
Well, thank you, sir.
You left out
You
the
left out
as
the
before.
as before. Oh, you're criticizing my reading skills. I've been doing a lot of reading tonight. Be nice to me.
He's a reading master. Leave him alone.
And I am not, but thank you. So, okay.
Dude, my daughter is. She can, oh my goodness, she can go through a book that thick in 3 days.
Nice.
Dude, it's
Wow.
nuts.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Heck yeah.
All right, gentlemen, any final thoughts before we wrap this live stream up?
No, sir.
I have final thoughts.
Go for it. What are they?
They're already gone.
Nice.
Okay. Well,
Do you want to watch that funny video?
yes, let's watch that funny video, Trevor. I would like that very much.
It's one of them in chat.
I don't believe you. I bet it's not funny.
How would you tell me the title of it? Because every time I freaking go to the chat, it like distorts my video.
No. I put the actual link instead of the title because I figured out how to grab the link instead of the title.
Well, that's what I'm saying. When I'm on Zoom, though, like it moves the windows out of the frame on OBS. So if you could just tell me the title of it, I'll. Yeah.
Okay, hold on. No, stop. Sorry, my computer's like messing up.
Just tell them the name of the video.
Okay. Bro risked it all for content. BRO.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
Bro
Wrist.
risked it all for content.
Surprised it doesn't say Sigma in there somewhere.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
a short.
Like my son
great.
walking around, Skibbity Ohio toilet.
You
Riz.
feel old yet?
I'm like, what are you
It's it.
talking about, dude?
It's that,
right
yeah,
here?
that one. Yep,
Okay,
that's it.
here we go. Here we go.
The other day, I was brushing my teeth. I realized
My bad. I need to zoom. Okay, there we go.
that my toothbrush comes with like this UV thing that's supposed to clean the bristles. And I was like, that's weird. I didn't know the sun could clean stuff, right? So I was like, why don't we just put another sun over India? Tough crowd. Okay, the other day, the light in my ceiling fan, it went out, and I was too short to reach it. So I had to get a step ladder because my real ladder left when I was 5. There we go. Cool. The other day, I made a website for an orphanage, but the kids, they had a really hard time finding the homepage. Nothing? Okay, how about, why can't Michael Jackson go 500 feet within a school? Because he's dead.
That's
He
fantastic.
seriously got up in a actual courtroom and did that.
Because he's dead.
You see that guy shaking his head with just pure hatred.
Yeah, it was some sort of hearing.
All right.
Buddy.
One more time because it makes me happy.
Oh gosh.
Oh, I want that money!
Guys, thank you so much for watching, and
Thank
we'll
you.
see you next time.
Deuces, yo.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Faith, Fiction, and Folklore. If you did, we would love it if you would subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Rumble. We can also be found on X, Instagram, and Facebook. And we are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Thank you again very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.